Hey guys, what is up and welcome to a new NVIDIA daily update video. So today, as per usual, let's go over NVIDIA stock. Let's go over what has happened to the stock, what we can expect moving forward and all of that good stuff. So ladies and gentlemen, if you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to hit that like button. This is not financial advice. I am not a financial advisor. And of course, if you do enjoy my technical analysis, thoughts in the charts, especially during these, definitely tough moments, right? The market's very, very tough right now. It's a tricky market for sure, requires proper risk management, patience, etc. Well, again, I do share my thoughts with my members every single day the market is open. Lately, there's been quite a lot of posts that I've been sharing with, again, as the market is open and trading, I'm constantly sharing updates, posts. In the first tier for $3 a month or $2.99 a month, you get access to mainly Tesla stocks, sometimes other stocks. $5 for the second tier, which includes Nvidia as well, plus the first tier. And I will be opening up a third tier probably next week, which will include pretty much everything else that's not Tesla Nvidia. Plus Discord as well. I'll be opening up a Discord so we can have a community there. It's easier to ask me questions there, etc., etc., etc. Anyways, that's coming soon if you're interested. But yeah, jumping into it. Nvidia closing the day up just over 1%, closing at 117.30. Compared to the market, I'm not gonna lie, it's a little bit of a weaker performance. However, there is potential. There is potential, but Nvidia, I'm not fully convinced. I'm still holding my cash secured put, right? I guess that I did sell that cash secured put lower. Actually, no, I didn't say that. I told my members that. I didn't say in the video that. This morning, I did sell a cash secured put for Nvidia down to 106. The premium was crazy. The IV is like 110% because I think Marvell is reporting earnings, which it did. It's absolutely tanking. And we have AVGO, Broadcom, reporting earnings tomorrow. I'm assuming because of that, Nvidia's IV is very high. I don't know. But essentially what I did was I sold the cash you could put for, I believe it was 106 expiring next Friday to collect premium because, one of three things will happen. Either it's going to just tank to my target, which is again about 106, 107, 105, somewhere around there, which I'm happy to buy shares and I got paid to buy shares. I'm okay with that. Or it does nothing and goes sideways. I make money in the premium and probably the IV crush that's coming up probably by tomorrow. And also, of course, we have, if we move up, I get to close out for profit and I get to enter shares on a confirmation. So let's talk about that confirmation. What do I want to see for Nvidia to make its way higher? Let's start with the daily chart. Yeah, we'll start with the daily chart first. Well, first and foremost, Nvidia is absolutely in a downtrend, right? It's in a pretty aggressive downtrend. Obviously, downtrends can come to an end, kind of like what it did over here, right? But it is in a downtrend. The problem I have with this downtrend is the fact that it still made a lower low. Remember how I was talking about the lower lows and how when we came down here and even though we had this rally, guys, remember I kept saying it many times, we still made that lower low, we're getting this rally to the top of the resistance, but the point is we still made that lower low. So, things really need to get good for the bulls here to get confidence back up to all-time highs, right? So not only did we sell off, but we also obviously made a fresh lower low, right? Ultimately, we did make a lower low. We ended up breaking the low over here. So it's pretty much even further confirming that, yeah, it's in a downtrend. Like the stock is absolutely in a downtrend. It is overall weak. And in all honesty, I don't see all-time highs coming for a few months, honestly. I could be wrong, and I hope I'm wrong. Don't get me wrong. I really do hope I'm wrong. I want it to go all-time highs. I want to ride this bad boy back up. But, I'm not fully convinced yet, right? So what do I want to see? Well, obviously, the overall zoomed out picture is, pretty much we need to break out of this downtrend. We're in this downward channel pretty much more or less, right? We need to break out of this, which, if it were to happen sometime in, let's say, late March, mid 130s, something like that, that needs to break. That has to break, right? Pretty simple stuff. If we don't break above that, there's a damn good chance Nvidia just kind of does a whole lot of nothing in this range and it just continues pretty much drawing a premium, doing a whole lot of nothing. That is a possibility, absolutely. Worst case, of course, it just comes back down to the bottom of the trend line one more time. So that's kind of the bigger picture. Like it needs to break at this point, mid 130s-ish at some point or another. Obviously, it's descending, so that price will change. But as of right now, assuming it happens like sometime middle to end of this month, about 135. But what I don't like right now that I'm still not a fan of, which of course can get fixed. This is why I'm still not entering shares raw. I'm getting close. It is getting close, and I'll dive into the 1 hour soon. Is this trend line, right? If we zoom out, right, this little trend line right here. Let me see if I do this for now. Never mind. This trend line that has connected from here, connected here, right here. And we tried bouncing it off right here, but we ended up dropping below it, right? We're down below that trend line. Okay, that's not really good news, right? Now, obviously, this can be a false breakdown. We could get back above it, but what do we need to do to get back above it? Pretty much break above yesterday's high. The high we said yesterday of about 119 roughly. We need to break that. We need to not only break that, we need to start closing daily candles above that. If I see Nvidia start closing daily candles above 119, that's where I'm going to start getting, a little bit more bullish. Not necessarily bullish, but the bullish momentum will start making its way back. That's where I'm going to be starting to look for opportunities for Nvidia. As of right now, the risk is too high for me, unfortunately. Like I really want to buy Nvidia. Believe me, like I want this thing to go to all-time highs. Like I'm not a bear. I'm not a bear. I promise you. I'm not. But, it's just the risk is too high. It's below this trend line. It needs to break above this. It's not showing the strength I want to see. I definitely want to see a bit more strength on the stock as well. And I want to see it start closing back above 119 minimum for me to even start considering something, right? Because again, technically below these levels, the momentum is still to the downside. The EMAs are still all pointing straight down. They're all still cross bearish, right? There is concern there. And we're not really seeing any obvious bullish divergences on the RSI. Nothing that I really like to see at the very least, right? So there's work to be done in that sense, right? So that's number one. Number two, we want to see these EMAs turn back to being bullish. Now, unfortunately with Nvidia's case, because it just goes sideways, momentum trading is just not something that's effective on Nvidia lately, mainly because it's, at the end of the day, it is ultimately still pretty much going sideways. It's not really, it's having aggressive moves, but the overall zone that's in is still pretty much the same. So, the EMAs aren't as effective when it comes to Nvidia, unfortunately, but at the very least, I want to see Nvidia, break back above the 8 EMA, which is sitting at, about the, the very low 120s, which is why, this is where a stock where like the bands, for instance, the Bollinger Bands, for instance, could be much more effective, where it is at the bottom end of the Bollinger Band, right? So that is something that's a good sign for bulls, right? I do think that despite the movement to the downside, and the bearish perspective on Nvidia is still the one that's more in favor, it'd be pretty intense to see it drop down to 107 too quickly. Like, let's say starting, I don't know, tomorrow or, even early next week. Like, that would be very aggressive, like almost too aggressive for the stock. And if it does, I think it'll snap back very quickly, because that would be almost too aggressive for the stock. Mainly because, again, the stock, it's not an actual momentum, right? Yeah, it's going up aggressive and going down aggressive, but the point is that it's not escaping the overall range still. So hope that kind of makes sense. I don't know if that makes sense. Hopefully that makes sense. But essentially, it needs to reclaim these levels. TLDR, it needs to reclaim 119 at the very minimum for me to even remotely consider a move back up to about the 130s, right? Minimum. But the weekly is where I really have those problems, right? This is where I'm really like not a fan of right now on the stock, right? This is where I'm definitely having problems. This is what I talked about yesterday, and I'll very quickly reiterate it once again, where this is the first time, for instance, we have the 8 EMA and the red line, which is the 21 EMA. This is the first time in like 2 years or something it's crossed to the bearish side, right? That it's just showing that momentum. Yeah, it's not like overwhelmingly bearish, but to me, overwhelmingly bearish would be if both of these also start if both the red and the green line start crossing below the white line, which is the 50 EMA. If that happens on the weekly, we're definitely in a downtrend. Again, the last time that happened, nice little uptrend over here. Look at that, beautiful uptrend on the weekly, all the way back here. Okay, we got the bearish crossover here. Okay, it's a bit of sideways action, has some pops here and there. Okay, but ultimately, what happened once these two bad boys ended up crossing below? Just straight downtrend for weeks, months. This might be even a couple of years, even ultimately, right? And this is what unfortunately can potentially happen if I'm not saying it happens yet. I'm not saying it's happening yet. But if these two bad boys cross below the white line, which again will take time. I don't think Nvidia is ready for that just yet. This will take time, but that is a concern I have. But just the fact that they're even crossing below each other up here already tells me that momentum is just simply slowing down on the stock, which is why it's hard for me to think that the stock is seeing, all-time highs, at least until this gets fixed, essentially, this problem. On top of that, we're also still dancing this kind of, dangerous dance with the 50 EMA. We only have 2 days left in the week. If this thing closes below the 50 EMA, that's also going to be the first time the stock has closed below the 50 EMA, which is the white line, in quite some time. It had a bit of a closure here. We could get a bit of a bear trap like this, massive spike, and then make our way down like that, obviously. But, had another closure here. This was more convincing, and then look what happened, right? It's just we're at very crucial levels that it almost feels like we're walking on thin ice right here on Nvidia, right? Now, obviously, this can get fixed. Of course, it can get fixed. Absolutely, this can fix itself. But the bulls really need to start doing something. Like the bulls, they're just not stepping in. what, and they need to start stepping in. They need to start stepping into the stock, because this can definitely get uglier. And it's just not a gamble, I guess you can say, that I'm willing to take, if that makes sense. I don't want to gamble, right? I'm not here to gamble. I'm trying to minimize as much gambling as possible. I just simply do not have the confidence right now in this stock to really enter anything like that right now, right? It's kind of like Microsoft, right? Same idea with Microsoft. It's already getting those crossovers below the 50, despite this potentially very nice looking candle on Microsoft setting up on the weekly. I'm very curious to see how this plays out. It's not something I'm willing to trade, but I will observe it, definitely. I'm very interested to see how this plays out. But this could be an early example of what potentially might happen to Nvidia, in a sense where, Microsoft started closing below the 50. Same idea. It's, it hasn't closed below the 50 EMA since like ages ago, all the way down here, right? And look at this. Microsoft had essentially 2-week closures below like this in a row. I mean, 3, I guess. Obviously all of these technically in a row, but once this first one essentially started doing it, right, you can see. And then we had that, bearish crossover on the that 8 and the 21. And then now we're even getting the 8 crossing below the 50. Like, man, I can't say I'm a fan of that. Now, obviously, can this fix itself and it just rockets from here? Absolutely. Is that a risk I'm willing to take at these levels right now? And based on what I'm seeing, no. And that's just kind of the idea that I have with Nvidia right now, where it feels in a similar type fashion. And Microsoft also essentially went sideways for quite some time, doing a whole lot of nothing before this, potential pretty substantial breakdown setting up right now in Microsoft. And Nvidia, tell me this doesn't look somewhat similar, just a little bit earlier in the phase. Again, I just see these things and I'm just not a fan, right? I wanna be bullish, and I wanna tell you guys it's going to all-time highs, but I can't do it with a straight face until I see something more convincing, unfortunately. And I'm just not seeing it yet. I'm not seeing it yet. That's just my honest thoughts, guys. That's my honest thoughts. It is what it is. It is what it is, guys. It is what it is. But yeah, so that's kind of what I'm seeing on Nvidia. So let's see how it plays out. Again, this will take time. This doesn't mean it has to crash tomorrow or anything like that. This will take time. Even if this bear case scenario plays out, it will take some time. But for now, Nvidia is still on either a watch for now, and I'm avoiding it, and I'll watch it, but I'm avoiding it. Or it's like very short-term swing trading. Otherwise, this is just not a stock that I would look at and be like, I want to buy this and hold it for another year. Not at this level. Not the way it's looking. Again, just my opinion. I could be wrong. I hope I'm wrong. Please be wrong. I hope I am wrong. Believe me, I don't want to be right on this. But, there are some warning signs, guys. There are some warning signs. The bulls are still trying to step in. Nothing crazy, though. The flow is pretty short, pretty small lived, if you will, on the flow there. Nothing crazy. Nvidia is, yes, 52 million confirmed bearish flow. Yeah, not convincing. It's just, I don't know what's happening in the stock. It feels like the bulls are just giving up on the stock entirely. I don't know what's happening, but the bulls need to start stepping in on this thing. But yeah, that's all I got for you. Let me know what you think. See you tomorrow. Peace.